So there are two things that some people may not realize about me. Number one, I am Vietnamese, and number two, I'm actually pushing 50. And so I have to mention both these things because like people, often think I'm Chinese and they often think I must be in my 20s or something like that. So I'm Vietnamese and I'm pushing 50. Now, why am I bringing this up right now? Because there was an interesting headline that just came out that the life expectancy in China has exceeded that of the USA. Now, some people might find this alarming, some people may not. I want to show you some data on that. Kind of depends on where you are in the political spectrum, but to me, it's kind of a neutral. It's just a number. Basically, what's going on is that life is getting better in China. It's a developing country, and you can see over the last 60 years, basically, life expectancy has been going up. In the USA, actually, it has been going down. And one of the things that I do think is alarming, regardless of where you are in the political spectrum, because I mentioned this is going to be a political chat here, is that life expectancy in Missouri is going down. It's actually at a 40-year low, which I think is an alarming thing, because as a developed country, you're like, and a very rich country as well, you're like, okay, what the heck is going on here? What's wrong with going on in USA? You guys may or may not know as well, my wife is a Korean national. I lived in Korea, I lived in China and Japan. We've also lived in Vietnam. In fact, we just returned to Korea about a month or so ago. It's something that we've talked about a long time. And I've told you guys about this on channel as well, is that essentially, if you're looking to travel abroad or live abroad, now is a great time because the dollar is really, really strong. In fact, it's like the strongest in, say, 14 years. So now's the time to come. I mean, like literally, the dollar is like really strong right now. And so it is a good time to be in Korea, to be perfectly frank. The one thing, too, I want to talk about this, though, is that when you think about life, there's a couple of different ways you can value sort of where you live. And I want to give you a chart here, which I think is really fascinating. So this chart basically measures, it's looking at rich countries, right? Essentially wealthy nations. And you're looking at life expectancy. Also, you're looking at GDP per capita. So on this chart, to see where the USA is, you have a life expectancy of 77, right? You're going to live about 77 years. And the GDP is about 63,000, okay? Now, depending on where your measure is, you might choose different places to live. So if you value a long life and you value life, right, you look at this chart, and in fact, Japan would be the best place to live in the world because you're going to live 84.7 years. That's like 7 years more than if you were to live in USA. And if you're going to live, say, in Korea, you're at 83.5. So it's actually pretty close there. And so about 6-7 years more than you're going to live in USA. But you guys get the basic gist of it if you value that. Because the argument against you say, well, Chris, I'm looking at your chart there, and I can see that, Korea, I can see that Japan, you just don't make that much money there. Life must be terrible over there. Well, it just depends how you want to look at life. Because I would argue in the USA, yes, the GDP is higher, but not everyone necessarily enjoys that wealth because the wealth gap is so big, right? They're essentially billionaires that have a ton of money, and it really skews the GDP to a certain direction, whereas there's some people in the USA that just don't have any money at all. Or also, too, when you talk about GDP, you're also thinking about people who say just don't earn enough money to pay for the high prices in the USA, right? Things cost stuff. You guys know this with inflation. I don't explain to you that food costs, oil costs, these kind of things. If you want to make the case that you just want to live in a rich country, then you should probably live in actually Luxembourg. This is kind of nuts. GDP per capita, 116,000. Look at Switzerland, GDP per capita, 87,000. But point being, though, is that we have chosen to live in Korea because my wife is a Korean national. I would love to live in Switzerland, though, to be perfectly frank. When you look at this, you're like, okay, life expectancy is 83 years. That's pretty good. And GDP is very high, but I think it's like horribly expensive to live in Switzerland. so you got to like balance out, where can I actually afford to live? Because like I said, and also too, can you actually live there? I think to live in a place like Switzerland, you're going to have to donate a ton of money to the government to get a visa basically to stay. Because my wife is a Korean national, it's very easy for us obviously to come to Korea because she's Korean. I actually would like to live in Vietnam because I am Vietnamese. She doesn't want to go because, and this is sort of how we were planning our lives here, is that hospitals are really, really good in Korea. I'm telling you guys, they're really, really good. And so we've always talked about retiring here, and basically this is just now the time to come. And so the other thing too is that when you compare to the USA, there's some lifestyle things that sort of makes the USA that's been in decline. I think it's been about 10 years where life expectancy in the USA has been in decline. And some of the things that sort of caused it to spike, I think you guys know this, is COVID. So the way that the Americans handled COVID, we just had a lot more fatalities than the Americans needed to. And it was a real big problem. And it's weird that this becomes political, but like, it's just weird to me. But I'll just tell you how it is in Korea, right? For example, is that if I'm sick, okay, I'm sick. I have a cold, I have a flu, whatever. But I want to come and do my job because I want to get paid, right? You want to get a job. You would wear a mask to work. Why would you do that? Because I'm sick and I don't want to cough on other people, and it's considered really, really rude to cough on other people. And it's such a strange thing in USA that the whole mask thing or just getting a vaccine is considered political. I'm just telling you, to me, it's weird. And, in other countries, it's just like, oh my God, everyone's getting sick. I don't want to get sick. I don't want to get other people sick. And moreover, I want to get the vaccine as soon as possible. It's just very, very different culturally. The other thing too that's really different in say, Korea, Japan. You could argue with China as well, because they're roughly the same. They're all in East Asia. I don't know if Vietnamese do this, but I can just tell you for sure, China, Japan, and Korea, they're really, really concerned about health. And during the holiday season, we just had Chuseok. People give basically vitamins and healthy food to each other as gifts. And it's kind of funny because in USA, gifts, you give someone a box of chocolates, right? You give someone sweets and things like that. It's the lifestyles here are really, really focused on health. I've showed you guys in vlogs and stuff. You walk around, town, and this is again all three countries: China, Japan, and Korea. I'm just comparing these because I've lived in these countries, and old people are out for walks and they're out doing public exercise. It is just a healthy lifestyle. And so one of the things I just really want to stress with you, look at the chart for yourself, and just want you to think about for yourself. It doesn't mean that, for some people you just can't leave the country. I mean, I really get that. But you can choose to have what kind of lifestyle you want to have. And, one of the things sometimes I look at some of the American news and I'm just like, have you guys all gone mad? Are you crazy? This is a perfect example. The example I always use is when the Obamas were in office, and Michelle Obama was telling basically, we need to change school lunches to include more vegetables. And Fox News ran these crazy stories. Look at the headline. Michelle Obama responds to backlash over healthy school lunches. So basically what Fox News did, they ran stories all day of like, who does Michelle Obama think she is that telling my kids they should eat vegetables? Who does she think she is? My kid eat hamburgers and french fries and hot dogs as much as they want. And it's just like, what world do we live in, guys? I mean, what are we doing here? It was like, the freedom is all about, gorging on hot dogs. It just seems so bizarre to me. And, it's moreover is, they're kind of pushing this narrative, you can read the headline. Michelle Obama will fight to the bitter end in the school lunch battle, right? It's going to be a bitter fight to get kids to eat vegetables. And here's the argument, to be fair. Here's the argument that Fox News is making. Well, if kids don't like vegetables, they're just going to throw out the food and it's going to be a big food waste. So we might as well give kids what they want at school lunches, and we're going to give them lots of hamburgers. And I just find that really disturbing. I'm mentioning food because this is an overarching problem in USA where people aren't concerned about healthy lifestyles, be it mentally healthy, be it financially healthy, be it also physical health. And so why I try to put these kind of videos out for you guys. So I'll give you a simple example. 70% of the U.S. economy is based on consumerism, right? So basically they want you to borrow tons and tons of money to buy cars that you don't need. That's basically it in a nutshell. Or, buy a car every 2 years when these days you can have a car for 6 years or 7 years, right? Totally fine, even 10 years. Or, the USA is all about this is just real. It's about stressing you out as much as you can, and you just stress all the time. And unfortunately, some people feel like right now that they're working too much for not enough pay, and it's just not worth it. And so sort of we've had this cultural change in the USA of the Great Resignation, where people are like, you know what, there are other things in life. And so I wanted to show you this data because I think all of these things adding up are taking a toll on American life expectancy. Also, too, another real thing is that I was telling you, so here in Korea, the hospitals are better than USA. I can just tell you flat out, I've been to hospitals in Korea, they're better. And I've been to ones in USA. I'm telling you, they're better here. And the one of the things I think is important is that this is basically government investment in that, because in my point of view, and I get it, other people have different points of view, but if someone say has a job at Starbucks or McDonald's, just like a regular wage paying job, and they work 40 hours a week, I believe they have a right to health care and getting regular health checkups. And here in Korea, it's basically free. It's just a different environment. And unfortunately, in USA, we're not really in USA. It's just not really about health focused or keeping citizens healthy. Another example, a very simple one, is drug use. Whenever you talk about with friends from other countries, developed countries, I should say, because it depends. Obviously there's drug use in like in Mexico or something like that. But we talk about friends. I'll use Asia for example, and I don't know about Europe. I have no commentary on that. But just everyone knows people use drugs in USA, and actually opioid deaths were up the last couple of years. Also, too, in USA, suicides are up. Actually, though, to be fair, though, homicides were down. But to also be fair, when you live here, say in Korea or Japan or China, you're just not worried about if someone's going to shoot you. It's just not a worry because nobody has guns, and it's a very very different living environment. So walking around, it was kind of funny. So it was just over the holiday. I went to Starbucks, and for me, I'm still American, so some things are still weird to me. Where my wife, you can leave your purse and your bag at the Starbucks table, and you can just go to the bathroom and like you're not worried. But like for me, being an American, I'm just like, oh no, I'll wait with your purse. You go to the bathroom first, and then you come back, and I'll go. But she's like, no, 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 we both go. So these sort of weird cultural things to me is weird. Is easy to get used to. I wouldn't say hard. It's just easy to get used to. And the biggest one is too is it's something it's funny too. You wouldn't find in USA. When I was teaching at Hongdae, which is kind of the popular college district in Korea, you'll see college students, female college students, just walking around at like 1, 2, 3 a.m. in the morning all by themselves, and it's like not a big deal. Where in USA, it's just not safe. It's just not safe, and I think you guys know this. And I'm not just making random stuff up. It's just not safe. And the other thing too, as well is I went to school in Philadelphia at Penn, and if you guys know Philly or any big city, you'll see this sometimes. It's really disturbing. My wife saw it for the first time in North Carolina. But basically, sometimes mothers in the USA, they put Coca-Cola in the baby bottles, and basically the kid grows up a sugar addict. And it's a real thing. It is a real thing. And I bring this up because, one of the big differences, me growing up in USA. So my family was killed in the Vietnam War, but I know my mother was Vietnamese. And, being Vietnamese, she ate Vietnamese food, obviously, right? And so when I was in elementary school, on ice cream days, all the kids are running over to the ice cream and just loving the ice cream. And I never understood that. I was like, why would you want to eat ice cream? And I just never had a sweet tooth. And one of the main reasons is because essentially my mom, when she was pregnant, didn't eat that kind of stuff. And I didn't think about this for years until I read a study when I was in college, and it was basically about the carrot juice study. And the basic gist of the study is that they split up a group of moms. They give one mom's being pregnant a bunch of carrot juice, and another mom's not being pregnant, just regular food, but no carrot juice. And as it turns out, it's not hard to see though, is that the kids that were born to mothers that were drinking carrot juice during their pregnancy end up liking carrots, etc. And so one of the things I think that this is a deep-rooted problem in the USA. I think food is a massive problem because it creates a lot of issues. And why do I think that? So when you go to Korea, you go to Japan, you go to China, these things, you'll eat real vegetables for dinner. You'll eat it for breakfast. You'll eat it for lunch. I know some of you guys might sound strange, like why you eat vegetables for breakfast? But we do three meals a day. We're eating vegetables, and that alone. And this is sort of why I'm always laughing when I see this Fox News headline of like, Michelle Obama wants kid to eat vegetables, and suddenly this is like a really controversial thing. Is we want people to live longer. And I guess you're going to make the argument for people who want to pose and say, oh, well, it's just freedom to eat whatever I want, and we should have hot dogs at school because that's what kids want. The thing is with this is it really represents America, to where basically, there are companies making money off selling food to prisons and to, high schools. And from a sort of like business perspective, they want to sell food as cheaply as possible and make lots of money, right? And they process these things and freeze these things, and it's a really cultural problem in terms of like where our priorities. And I go back to this list here, guys, and just looking at this list, and I encourage you to look at this for yourself, because I think it's a really interesting list to like look at like which countries are rich and which countries live long, and where can you balance it, and what other cultural differences are we investing enough in healthcare? Are we investing enough in education to get people to eat healthy, right? Are we investing enough in keeping people to be healthy lifestyles, like exercising? I can just tell you, I live here in Korea, and there's outdoor equipment, and like I go out for a walk in the morning, and there's all these old people just walking around. It's just part of the lifestyle that people walk. People get out and do healthy activities. So I know we start funny, but I just can't emphasize enough to be really serious about this stuff. Is it is I'm very concerned when I see this, not about that China's exceeded USA, just that the U.S. life expectancy is going down, and I think it's a lot of it is just the cultural sort of it's not important to live a healthy lifestyle. I guess you could probably say in USA, and you can define it any number of ways, be it financially, meaning that for most Americans, or many Americans, and why I put out content for you guys is that it's all about buying that new car every 2 years, which is a horrible financial decision to do that kind of thing, right? Or follow your latest scammer on YouTube, which is a lot of people out there like that. You got to buy Dogecoin. You totally got to get that stuff. And this is sort of why I make these kind of videos. I feel like we need more healthy content out there. Or the other thing too in USA is just the whole like I don't want to go to the hospital stuff. And one of the things that too is and maybe I mentioned this is that in the USA, because hospitals are so expensive, people aren't used to going seeing doctors. My wife has this theory, and I think it makes sense, is that if you grow up in a situation where you're considered weak if you go to the hospital, or you grow up in a situation where it's like too expensive, so you don't go. And you guys may or not know this. Say in Korea, it's a different environment to where, like in the USA, if you go to the hospital for say pregnancy, they try to kick you out ASAP. Where as in Korea, they try to keep you as long as they can. And the difference in costs is like enormously different. So when I was in the hospital, we were choosing. I always tell the same story. We were choosing between I want to call it a private room and a shared room, and this is per night. It was about, I don't know, 8 years ago, and the private room was like $25. No, sorry. The shared room was $25. No, yeah, that's right. The private room was $25, and the shared room was like $15. It was like peanuts, right? And if you guys know anything about hospitals in the USA, it's like the cost is like $10,000 a night. It's like ludicrous numbers, and I'm not making it up. It's like ludicrous numbers, and I don't know. I know I ramble on when it comes to these kind of things, but I just I do think this is a serious headline. The headline, many places will be, oh my God, China is exceeding the USA, but I think the bigger one is Missouri's at a 40-year low, and I think in USA, there's too much focus on just wealth, and showing off your wealth, opposed to like thinking about how can I live healthy and live a long and healthy, happy life. So I hope you guys understand why I do these video guys for you, and you probably like think I'm all strange and stuff, but I was a professor for 10 years, and the thing I always tell people is if all you ever do is chase after money, that's all you'll ever get. And I'm here to just tell you there's more to life than money, and in fact living a healthy and long life is what you should be striving for. So hope you guys understand this message. I do appreciate everyone listening, and I'll catch you in the next video.